do you know?
What the bravest thing you can do is? It's not leaping from a plane or wrestling a bear. It's facing the music of your life, the symphony of choices you've orchestrated, and admitting sometimes you played a bum note. Let me tell you about Silas. He wasn't a wrestler or a skydiver. He was a librarian, a quiet man who lived amongst the towering stacks and whispered secrets of forgotten volumes. For 60 years, Silas had curated knowledge, cared for stories, and lived a life that on the surface appeared as neatly cataloged as the Dewey Decimal System. But beneath the serene exterior was a discordant melody, a regret that echoed louder with each passing year. Silas wasn't haunted by a grand failure, a spectacular downfall. No, his ghost was far more insidious, the ghost of the road not taken, the quiet, unremarkable path he hadn't dared to walk. He'd loved a woman named Hazel, a vibrant artist, splashed with the colors of life. She painted sunsets on forgotten walls and whispered poetry into the faces of grumpy old men. Silas, then a young, bookish clerk, was captivated. He'd spend his lunch breaks watching her from across the square, sketching in her notebook, her laughter a wind chime in his silent world. He wanted to tell her. He wanted to confess that the sonnets he read felt pale against the vibrant colors of her soul. But fear, that dastardly gatekeeper, held him back. He convinced himself he wasn't interested enough, adventurous enough, worthy enough for a woman who danced in the rain and chased after rainbows. And then, one rainy Tuesday, Hazel left. She packed her canvases, her poems, and her kaleidoscope spirit and moved to Italy, chasing the light and the promise of a life untethered. Silas watched her go, a silent observer in his own life's drama. Years turned into decades. Silas became the head librarian, a respected figure in the community. He married a kind woman named Margaret, built a comfortable life filled with routine and predictability. But Hazel's memory remained, a watermark on his soul, a constant reminder of what he had lacked the courage to pursue. Margaret passed away 10 years ago. Now, in his late 80s, Silas found himself surrounded by books, yes, but also by a profound sense of loneliness. The silence of the library was no longer comforting, it was deafening. He began to see Hazel everywhere, in the bright hues of a child's drawing, in the lyrical verse of a forgotten poet, in the face of every woman with a spark in her eye. One day, a package arrived at the library, addressed to Silas. Inside was a worn leather-bound journal, postmarked from Florence. It was Hazel's. A note written in her familiar, elegant script accompanied it. "Silas, I found this while clearing out my studio. I thought you should have it." I always wondered. His hands trembled as he opened the journal. It was filled with sketches, poems, and observations, a window into Hazel's vibrant world. And then he found it, a drawing of him sitting on the park bench reading a book. Underneath, Hazel had written, "The quiet man with eyes that hold a universe." Silas sank into his chair, the weight of his regret pressing down on him. She had seen him. She had noticed. And he, in his timidity, had missed his chance. He spent the next few weeks lost in Hazel's journal, reliving a life he could have had. He imagined him in Italy, exploring ancient ruins, sharing gelato under the Tuscan sun, arguing about art and poetry. He felt a sharp pang of grief, not just for Hazel, but for the younger version of himself who had lacked the courage to reach for happiness. But amidst the regret, a flicker of hope began to ignite. It was never too late to learn, he realized. Never too late to embrace the lessons of the past and choose a different path, even in the twilight of his years. He decided to go to Italy. It wasn't a grand romantic gesture. He wasn't expecting to find Hazel waiting for him, arms outstretched. He simply needed to stand where she had stood, to breathe the air she had breathed, to walk the streets she had walked. He needed to face his regret, not as a passive observer, but as an active participant in his own healing. He booked a flight to Florence. The trip was arduous. He relied on the kindness of strangers to navigate the unfamiliar streets. He felt his age in every aching joint, in every labored breath. But with each step, he felt a lightness in his heart, a sense of purpose he hadn't felt in decades. He visited the Piazza della Signoria, where Hazel had often sketched. He stood before Michelangelo's David, marveling at its beauty. He ate gelato by the Arno River, the sweet taste bittersweet with memories. He felt Hazel's presence everywhere, a whisper in the wind, a shimmer in the sunlight. One afternoon, while wandering through the Boboli Gardens, he stumbled upon a small art gallery, and there, hanging on the wall, was a painting that stopped him in his tracks. It was a portrait of a woman with fiery red hair and laughing eyes, surrounded by a swirl of vibrant colors. It was Hazel. He approached the gallery owner, a young woman with paint-stained hands. "This painting," Silas said, his voice trembling, "do you know who the artist is?" The woman smiled. "That's Hazel. She was a local legend. Passed away a few years ago, I'm afraid, but her spirit lives on in her art." Silas felt a pang of sadness, but it was different this time. It wasn't the crushing weight of regret, but a gentle ache of acceptance. He had found her, not in person, but in her work and the legacy she had left behind. He spent the next few days exploring Hazel's art, visiting galleries and private collections. He learned about her life in Italy, her triumphs and her struggles. He discovered that she had never married, that she had dedicated her life to her art. He learned that she had often spoken of a quiet librarian she had known in her youth, a man who had seen the universe in her eyes. Before returning home, Silas visited Hazel's grave in the Cimitero degli Allori. It was a simple stone, adorned with flowers and small paintbrushes. He stood there for a long time, talking to her in his mind, telling her about his life, about his regrets, about his journey to Italy. "I'm sorry I didn't have the courage," he whispered, "but I'm here now, and I understand. I understand what you saw in me, and what I failed to see in myself." He left a single red rose on her grave and turned to leave. As he walked away, he noticed a small inscription on the back of the tombstone, almost hidden by the overgrown ivy. It read, "The greatest adventure is the one you dare to take." Silas returned to the library a changed man. He was still quiet, still bookish, but a newfound light shone in his eyes. He had faced his regret not by erasing the past, but by embracing it. He had learned that it's never too late to learn, never too late to grow, never too late to forgive yourself for the roads not taken. He started a new program at the library, encouraging young people to pursue their passions, to take risks, to embrace the unknown. He told them Hazel's story and his own as a cautionary tale and a testament to the power of courage. Silas never found another Hazel, but he found something even more valuable. He found himself. He learned that the bravest thing you can do is not to avoid the music of your life, but to listen to it, to acknowledge the bum notes, and to keep playing with all your heart until the very end. And that, my friend, is a lesson worth more than all the books in the world. Because life isn't about avoiding the wrong notes, it's about making music even when you do.